So lots going on. Let's get to it. First, we're starting domestically at home. And this is Justin Trudeau, and he's wrapping up his cabinet retreat weekend, his full cabinet. Yeah, okay, federal cabinet, with no solutions at all. More questions, in fact. National Post is reporting federal cabinet wraps up retreat without new plans to address Canada's housing crisis. New plans would mean meaningful action on reducing immigration and the building of the homes thing. Sure, argue about building homes all you want, but if you're dabbling in 100,000 versus 200,000 homes, which would double what we're making, I think we're talking 270 in Ontario, 100,000, and Canada-wide 200 and something odd is the quote from Polyev talking about the number from 2022, I think 2021 or 2022, whenever there's data from. So 200 odd thousand. If you double that to 400,000 or 500,000 homes, that's very difficult to do. It's not easy, but they're talking about it like it's the easiest thing in the world. Whereas you could say, sorry guys, we don't have anywhere for anybody to live. We've got to curtail immigration. That would be easy, right? It's not easy to double making houses, because like making houses is hard. You have to have coordinated teams. You have to have material. You have to have cost effective material where the people building the houses are going to get compensated for building the houses fairly, like, make a job of it and all that. Put food on the table for people for long periods of time and all that. That has to be worthwhile for them to make the money that they're going to make on the other end, to put the investment that they have to put in to get it built, right? And so that has to be true. And then it has to be true for double, right? Very difficult to do. Very difficult to make the situation, the underlying conditions right to make that possible. If you have, say you have 10 drywalling teams, and say you're in like Kitchener-Waterloo, Guelph, Fergus, this area. You have 10 drywalling teams that are working on new builds. And you're like, what we need? We need 20 drywalling teams. Well, you need the work for 20 drywalling teams. You need people to be building houses at the pace to keep those 20 teams working. Now, you could probably make those 10 teams that you've got a little bit more efficient, up to maybe 15. So half, not quite up to 20, but almost halfway there. So you could get more output, but then you've got to compensate them more, and there's got to be the demand. And it's hard to do. And that's just one team. And then you talk about concrete, talk about framing, talk about the roof trusses. There's so many moving parts that it's really, really hard to practically do that just to double building your houses. We're bringing in all of these people and we have to double building the houses. Doubling building the houses, one, doesn't address the number of people because you can't get there. Even if you doubled building the houses, it's still woefully inadequate for the number of people we're bringing in. The people we're bringing in are 1 million, and the supply we're talking about is, let's say, 500,000. So half of the people we're bringing in, where are they going to live? I have no idea. So that's a problem. That's a very, very big problem. And it seems like the government is saying, yeah, we're going to build houses. It's still not going to fix the problem. It's a huge problem. Here is Maxime Bernier highlighting another problem with housing. Maxime Bernier says Canadian universities and colleges that attract 800,000 foreign students every year are not selling education. They're mostly selling the right to work and an easy path to permanent residency in Canada. It's a racket to boost mass immigration. Right. And I think that that's true. And this is a Globe and Mail piece, and it's talking about the federal government lists 526 higher education institutions in Ontario as designated learning institutions. Most are private and may not offer much in the way of education, yet enrolling at any DLI includes the opportunity to come to Canada on a student visa and the legal right to work while enrolled, even more than at a public college. That's what foreign students at private career colleges appear to be paying for, the right to enter Canada and to work, mostly at low-skilled, low-wage jobs. So that's interesting. Do you want to see it in a chart form? Here it is. This is new student permits approved by study level in Ontario, 2016 to 2022. So 2016 is around 40,000. 2019 tops out at 60,000. 2020 drops down to, during the pandemic, 21,000 roughly, and then shoots up to 100,000 in 2021. Height of the pandemic. You know what we got to do? Foreign students. We got to bring in foreign students. The universities are going to collapse otherwise. And then in 2022, it goes up to 140,000, 142,000. It's higher than 140. So pretty wild, right? That's a terrifying chart if you're looking at I wonder why rent is so expensive. I wonder why housing is so expensive. That's one of the reasons, right? Interest rates are another one, but there's many reasons, but bad policies are at the core of a lot of these things. Here is a funny skit. I sent this to my brother, and the text that I included was, ha 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 ha, sob. So it's true. Here's Canada in a nutshell.
Oh, this house is for sale.
Oh, you should look up what it's going for.
$2 million.
Oh, nice. I'm so glad I live in
Oh, darn it, right? I mean, humor. It just gets right to the quick of it, right? It's like there's a movie where somebody's got an injury and the person puts their finger in the injury and you can almost feel it yourself and you're like, don't do that. That's what that feels like, kind of a little bit. Okay. Canada Proud is highlighting this Poilievre speech. Now, there's two Poilievre speeches I want to show you. This one looks stronger. He's squared off and he's pointing, right? But this one plays stronger. It's interesting. Both are trying to solve the problem through building. This one is outlining the outcomes if this crisis isn't fixed before a lot of other mortgages start renewing. People are going to be thrown out of their homes. I think that's part of the plan. Why is it part of the plan? Supply, right? If you need to refill supply, right, for the new Canadians coming in, for that big group of people that we can't build the housing for, then you just raise the rates and give other people preferential rates. Here you go.
Let me ask you this. What happens in Canada in the next 2 years as people's mortgages roll over and their monthly bills go up by $2,000 or $3,000 a month? What happens? What happens when they can't pay? Where do they go? Our homeless shelters are already overflowing. Our refugees already live on the streets and under bridges. What do you think is going to happen when 10 or 100,000 families lose their homes? Where will they go? Where will they go? We will have the world talking about a humanitarian crisis, not in a developing country on the other side of the Atlantic, but right here in Canada. That is where this is heading. We have never seen it like this before. And we were supposed to have solutions out of this big housing retreat Trudeau held. What was the solution? More speeches, more photo ops, more puff pieces for his incompetent housing minister to go out and attack the very programs he was running 2 weeks ago. Nothing. Justin Trudeau, the vacation is over. You've doubled housing costs. We have young people living on the streets. It's time to recall the House so that we can get Canadians a home.
It's strong rhetoric, right? People will like it. Here's Mr. Poilievre again. This is CPAC, and this is just a minute. I think the first one was stronger. Here we go.
Justin Trudeau, the vacation is over. You've doubled housing costs. We have young people living on the streets. It's time to recall the House so that we can get Canadians a home. Conservatives, we'll put forward tangible solutions to the problems you have caused, Mr. Trudeau. To balance the budget and bring down interest rates on mortgages, to remove the massive bureaucracies you've built up so that housing construction can go ahead, to sell off thousands of acres of land and thousands of federal buildings to build, build, build. But we have to get back to work. Your vacation is over. Canadians can't wait, and they can no longer live under the disastrous housing market you have created, Mr. Trudeau. So let's get to work and bring it home.
The build concerns me because he's going to say the rhetoric on it is going to be, we're building homes that cheap, affordable homes that Canadians want. And people are going to say, yes, we want cheap, affordable homes. But they're going to build towers on the government land they're going to sell off. The towers are going to be 15-minute city-ready towers with no parking or anything like that, but you can live and work in the building. They're moving forward with the agenda, just with the blue color paint attached. And the change in the wind is palpable because it's almost like they're handing it over. Right? It's almost like the media agrees with Polyev. And sure, they're calling him racist, but that's just because they're paid off by the current government, right? It's very interesting to watch unfold. Here is a story that may not seem related, but it is related, right? Here is Brian Lilly, and he says the OPP refer Greenbelt probe to the RCMP, which confirms to the Sun that they're investigating. So Doug Ford wants to build housing too, right? This is again the same problem as Polyev and Trudeau. They're not interested in talking about immigration. They're just interested in talking about housing. And because they're interested in talking about building housing and not talking about the supply side, they want to build houses only. And Doug Ford says the only way to build houses is if we open up the Greenbelt. And so they're trying to investigate that whole Greenbelt thing. And it's interesting, pointed out by Kootenai Bob, it's weird that the RCMP will investigate a development deal, right? So Ford is accused of selling to insiders and the insiders bought 20 years ago before it was a Greenbelt, or while it was a Greenbelt, and then now that it's opened up for development, they win. But people are saying these are Ford family friends and insiders and so on. And so that's going to be investigated, but Chinese interference isn't, right? So RCMP can investigate a development deal, but not Chinese liberal election interference. Priorities, I guess. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you've got to crack down on the Canadian environmental stuff, right? Doug Ford can't fix that problem that way because that's racist or anti-climate or, whatever, a denier thing to do or something. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. They will smear people and smear people and smear people and use the apparatus of government to crush people. If you're a left-wing person, for Doug Ford, if you're a left-wing person, and Doug Ford is not, he's a right-wing person, but if you're a left-wing person, you can do anything. If you're right, you can't do anything. You're not allowed, and the courts will back that up. It's pretty wild. And if you're a left-wing person and you do something illegal, it's allowed because for reasons of tyranny or something to that effect. So after not finding any solutions to the housing crisis during his PEI retreat, Justin Trudeau has an announcement, and No is carrying what the message Trudeau wants to relay is basically Polyev is bad. He's bad and mean. Here we go.
What do we do when people are upset? How do we respond when people are fearful for their future, worried about their kids' prosperity, worried about their ability to pay their rent or buy groceries? What does leadership mean when people are hurting? Well, Mr. Polyev has decided, let's make them even angrier. Let's give them a scapegoat. Let's point fingers and lay blame because that's easy, and it is.
You would know, I guess. Like Justin Trudeau would know, because he identified a scapegoat in the unvaccinated and then laid blame and viciously laid blame and then banned unvaccinated people from traveling between provinces on planes, on trains. I mean, he's right. It was super easy for him to do, right? Holy cow. Justin Trudeau from firsthand experience is outlining Polyev's strategy, or maybe that's Trudeau's strategy.
That's not my approach.
Really?
It hasn't been our approach as a government. What do we do?
It's very, very interesting. Also, all of these questions at the beginning are questions that Justin Trudeau was genuinely asking. They weren't rhetorical. He was saying, what do we do? I have no idea. Everybody seems really mad. What do we do when they're mad? Dan Knight says, breaking during today's press conference during the Liberal cabinet retreat in PEI when PM Trudeau was questioned about Polyev's accusations regarding the government role in Canadians' hardships, every minister in the gallery responded with laughter. This seems coordinated, planned, or something to that effect. There was nothing funny about this question, and the fact that they all laughed. Coordinated? There's something hinky about it. Here we go.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Carr with CBC. Pierre Poilievre is blaming you for pretty much every problem facing the country, whether that's crime. Big laugh from the gallery. That's great. Crime, inflation, a shortage of housing. And looking at the polls, I'm wondering if you think that message is
It is sticking. Absolutely, it is sticking. Yes, 100%. But the laughter is the problem, right? They're very out of touch. And he was the news media guy was saying all of the problems in Canada are being blamed on you, from housing to inflation to food prices to, all of these issues are being blamed on you. And they laugh, like a belly laugh. Come on. Are you kidding? Here's Justin Trudeau. He says, when times are tough, you can throw your hands up and get angry, or you can work hard and provide solutions. Our team has always chosen the second option and will continue to, because that's what Canada deserves. It's funny, and an unacceptable Canadian girl outlines this very well. She says, the only people making nice comments to you are paid bots. You're pathetic. So honestly, the responses to this are quite interesting from the point of view of people are not buying this bullshit anymore, right? The discrepancy between actions and words, people are paying attention and they can see it, and they're not interested in it. Not at all. Here's Catherine McKenna. Andrew Lawton's responding to her, but she says, we need a mandatory climate science lesson for conservatives and conservative politicians and premiers, as well as cost to the lives and livelihoods of Canadians from climate change and the economics of clean transition. Otherwise, Canadians pay the price. It's absurd, but that's where we're at. It is absurd to ask people to do that. Andrew Lawton says, how about a mandatory economics class for Liberal MPs? Yeah, that'd be nice. This didn't quite fit in anywhere, but it plays to the larger influence of the Liberals across the country. And Elections Canada is saying on August 22nd, for the first time, Elections Canada will be flying the Pride flag at our National Capital Region headquarters to mark Public Service Pride Week. We're proud to support S2 LGBTQIA plus communities in all that we do. And Rupa says, in third world countries, institutional capture by ruling elites is common. It's now come to Canada, where the body overseeing free and fair elections and stand above ideology has bought into a specific ideological perspective that is also intrinsically political. This should really ring alarm bells. Yeah. It's like seeing the Supreme Court of Canada say we're all vaccinated. So they're subscribing to this ideology. They're not going to be impartial. They believe safe and effective. And if you don't believe it, well, they're going to throw the book at you. Hello, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. This is just a short version of a longer show. If you'd like to get the whole show, you can go over to CanadaPoly.com and sign up for a subscription. Just look in the drop-down tab for Shop and Donate and look for subscriptions, and you'll get immediate access to the full show. Love to see you. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful